What do you think is the single greatest photograph in history? The Vulture and the Little Girl, also known as Struggling Girl, is a photograph by Kevin Carter which first appeared in the New York Times on the 26th of March 1993. It is a photograph of a frail famine-stricken boy, initially believed to be a girl, who had collapsed in the foreground with a vulture eyeing him from nearby. The child was reported to be attempting to reach a United Nations feeding center about a half-mile away in Ayat, South Sudan, in March 1993. The picture won the Pulitzer Prize for Feature Photography Award in 1994. Carter committed suicide 4 months after winning the prize. For those wondering. This one has messed me up for a very long time. Sad soldiers executing Jews in a field in Ukraine, 1942. It's disturbing, in part because of the unceremonious nature. For them I'm just another one out of hundreds they have to plug. For me it's everything. No time to say goodbye, hold a loved one, or take one last look. It's easy to deny human rights if you can be selective about who you consider human. Even with a lynching, guillotine or electric chair you might have a small crowd, a custom last meal and time/place of your execution. Maybe they'll throw a bag over your head, so you aren't shamed in death. Recognition, in some small way, of your inherent value. Without these, an execution would just be murder. Edwin Hubble's H335H. This photograph of the Great Nebula in Andromeda proved that the Milky Way was not alone in the universe. Overnight, we went from thinking there was one galaxy to knowing there were many more. Today, the best estimate is around 1 trillion. As a symbolic gesture, NASA took some of Hubble's original copies of the image aboard the space shuttle as it carried the Hubble Space Telescope to orbit. Here's some more information about the image and its significance. The Great Famine in China from 1959 to 1961 killed almost 45 million people. Survival cannibalism was practiced there as well. There is a word in Chinese, which I can't remember, that loosely means to trade dead children between families, so that parents don't commit the sin of eating their own kids. Hell on earth. Edit. It's a Chinese phrase, not a word, but I'm at a loss to remember what it is. Apologies. Edit 2. Here's r/iBleach. Or head to Shorpy, one of my favorite historical photo blogs, if you need uplifting, but still want to browse historical photos. Big J. McNeely, Los Angeles Olympic Auditorium, 1951 by Bob Willoughby. Edit. Thanks for the silver. More info. It doesn't seem that the name of the song was documented while this photo was taken, but his audience reacted this way commonly during his performances. In his LA Times obituary they quote a 1952 review of his concert that he turned the event into a veritable hepcut jive orgy when he came off the stage into the audience. In 2009, John Willoughby, the photographer, said of McNeely, Big J stood in the middle of what normally would be the fight ring, playing his heart out, and the crowd was exploding around him. He created some sort of resonance with the audience. In some weird way, he seemed to be playing them. A lot of the best ones have already been linked here, so I want to share one of my favorites. This photo of a priest during the 2014 Ukrainian Revolution. The contrast between the worn riot shield in one of his hands and the cross in the other, along with his religious garb against his respirator, is something I found incredibly powerful. A friend of mine likened him to a real-life paladin. There's something so battle-hardened about the look in his eyes. Reminds me of another photo of a priest at Ukraine riots that I thought was very poignant. Edit. Photo credit Sergei Supinski/AFP/Getty Images. I have found little info about Supinski, but he had photo credit for a lot of great photos coming out of Ukraine. This photo. Just an empty bed and a chair beside it. On the bed is a pillow with some dark stains. It's the bed Lincoln died in across the street from Ford's Theater. The photo was taken right after the president's body was removed. The pillow is stained red with the blood that seeped out of his head wound all night long. It's just soaked. If you ever have a chance to go here in DC, do it. It's pretty bone chilling. You can literally stand in this room and are an arm's length away from that same bed. Edit. Apparently the bed is now a replica, and not the original. I was unaware of that. It's still an awesome place to visit though. There are some other original pieces of memorabilia in the museum I know. A bit of a tangent to make up for my misinformation. The bed that Washington died on at Mount Vernon is the original, and there are several other original pieces out there. It's one of the best museums I've ever been to. It's privately owned. They also have his actual dentures there as well. Spoiler alert, they aren't actually wooden. This photo, NSFW, is one of the only known photos in existence that shows the activities inside Auschwitz surrounding the mass execution of its prisoners. Photography in the camp was generally forbidden, even by the SS, but this was taken in secret by the Sonderkommando, a group of around 1,000 prisoners inside the camp who were selected by the SS to do all the dirty work, including disposing of and burning the bodies as they are in this photo. The Sonderkommando smuggled in a camera and took the picture from the doorway of a nearby gas chamber. They then managed to smuggle the film out of the camp in a tube of toothpaste. For me, it is one of the most horrifying photos in existence, and just shows what humans are capable of at their worst. Alright, look, I'm late to the party, but this is hands down the best photo ever taken. It's a picture by the lesser known Apollo 11 astronaut, Michael Collins. The picture contains the moon, the landing module, with Armstrong and Aldrin, and the Earth. This is the best photo ever taken, because it contains every single human that has ever existed, dead or alive. Every single member of our species and its entire history is in this picture. Except for Michael Collins. Such a great post, and has been an introduction to so many awesome pictures and stories. I really like this one picture where workers in New York, I think, are doing construction on a skyscraper, and they're all sitting on this giant steel beam that's just hanging hundreds of feet in the air. It's called Lunch Atop a Skyscraper. Edit. Anyone who is freaked out by this picture, or who likes it, I think you should check out James Kingston on YouTube. Watch someone climb with bare hands and no tethers to the highest heights. It's unbelievable. German soldiers react to footage of concentration camps. You can read more here. The Allies' policy of denazification included a form of rehabilitation, where German soldiers were forced to watch a film about a concentration camp. Turning the camera from the footage onto the audience, you need only look at their faces to feel their grief and shame. I see it as a testament to our humanity, and that even those who have done the most heinous things don't have to be unreachable. For me, it's a hopeful picture that we can be better. That said, the forced confrontation is crucial. If they weren't made to face the horrors that they'd been a part of, any other steps that might have been taken wouldn't have mattered. I highly recommend the 2014 documentary Night Will Fall on Netflix. Not on Netflix anymore. Very NSFL but important. It chronicles the making of the 1945 British government documentary German Concentration Camps Factual Survey. The 1945 documentary, which showed gruesome scenes from newly liberated Nazi concentration camps, languished in British archives for nearly 7 decades, and was only recently completed. This was really heavy, like in SFL. It was a factual survey. They had to make sure to show the reality of the situation, so that nothing could be construed as fake, but it might have been too much for the public. The director Alfred Hitchcock was recruited for the film. Here is the link to the documentary. That was the end result. German Concentration Camps Factual Survey. Link to watch Night Will Fall, which of course, is the documentary about the documentary linked above. One of the photos on that wiki page is terrifying itself. I just imagined the poor British soldier who was recruited to bulldoze the corpses into a mass grave. Like, imagine the horror of the army seeing the absolute devastation. Too many bodies to count. Too many bodies to give a burial to. That soldier, getting off the bulldozer at the end of the day. How much anger, despair, and horror did he feel while disposing of men, women, and children? Sometimes he would see a baby, and it would remind him of home. Too many people treat the past as a joke. At the bottom of Empire State Building, the body of Evelyn McHale reposes calmly in grotesque beer, her falling body punched into the top of a car. Life. On May Day, just after leaving her fiancé, 23-year-old Evelyn McHale wrote a note. "He is much better off without me. I wouldn't make a good wife for anybody," she wrote. Then she crossed it out. She went to the observation platform of the Empire State Building. Through the mist she gazed at the street, 86 floors below. Then she jumped. In her desperate determination she leaped clear of the setbacks and hit a United Nations limousine parked at the curb. Across the street, photography student Robert Wiles heard an explosive crash. Just 4 minutes after Evelyn McHale's death, Wiles got this picture of death's violence and its composure. Perhaps the most famous conference was the October 1927 Fifth Solvay International Conference on Electrons and Photons, where the world's most notable physicists met to discuss the newly formulated quantum theory. The leading figures were Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr. 17 of the 29 attendees were, or became Nobel Prize winners, including Marie Curie, who alone among them, had won Nobel Prizes in 2 separate scientific disciplines. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.